All right, folks. So we're starting with trying to index our entire process here, and in terms of player development. So we're talking about the player development blueprint, okay, and what we're trying to do. And I think that the best place to start is the Croatian model, Engramming. And what we've done is we've asked the TACbot, our guy, what the process is, what that looks like, what you're trying to do, what you're trying to achieve with player development and training, right? So the model of the street soccer player going to play, sort of immersing a player in the culture is fine, right? But is it going to produce in and of itself world-class talent? And then no. So the development of the player has to be managed. And what the Croatians call this process is engramming. And what engramming is essentially an indexing of the game, right? So we asked the TACbot about how to build a player blueprint, what the process is, not what the actual blueprint is, but what the process is, building a blueprint, and it starts with engramming, right? So in neuroscience, an engram refers to a physical or biochemical memory, essentially which stores learned behavior, right? So this is the automation that you see from a soccer player that's similar to someone who plays the piano or a boxer, right? So those automations are in sequences. The sequences are optimized in terms of brain functions. So the brain functions in 2s, 4s, 8s, and 16ths, probably not much more than that, right? And it's basically encoding the executive functioning layer, the conscious functioning layer, right? So automating that layer rather than drawing on the wealth of knowledge in the subconscious, right? So at least this layer is automated and engrammed and mapped out. So in motor learning and skill acquisition, an engram represents how repeated actions, repeated decisions are encoded in the brain and nervous system, leading to automatic execution under pressure, right? So that's engramming. The process of encoding and reinforcing motor, cognitive, tactical skill through integrated training that unifies physical conditioning, tactical decision making into automatic high performance behaviors, right? So you kind of bypass the organic development into the indexed or organized development of a player, right? And in terms of coming up with that indexingization or engramming, you can also engram certain behaviors, like look for cognitive cues, like taking a quarter of a second to change decision in the decision-making process, adding a quarter second delay to allow for change of decision, and then encoding how decisions get changed from a technical standpoint. Like Croatia used to say, I've already made the mistake in my mind, but my body's corrected it, right? So the change of decision mechanics in the brain are engrammed, as well as the technical mechanics of change of decision. How you insert yourself into a play and make a decision is different from how you change a decision from making the wrong play from a technical standpoint, right? So the engramming model includes a psychometric map of the game with change of decision mechanics and change of decision technical elements, right? And so what we're trying to do with the engramming model, right, is make sure that the functional elements that you're training are matching the technical elements that you're training or optimizing them. And then the technical elements that you're training are optimizing the tactical elements that you're training, right? And obviously the physiological training enhances all that, right? So, and then cognitive, right? So the feedback, that half a second of delay or the ability to calibrate how you're playing based on a game model or game management, right? Having a rubric or an index, a trainer, help you develop your game, right? So the first thing about the player blueprint is physiological has to match, functional has to match, technical has to match, tactical has to match. So be able to measure that there's a psychometric measure of tactical inputs into the cognitive decision-making map, right? So that the entire game is indexed and mapped out, at least as much as possible, or at least in the same way that boxing is mapped out. 2-punch combinations, 4-punch combinations, 8-punch combinations that turn into 16-punch combinations. How you progress from all those 4, right? And that's what we need in essence. You know, back in the day, Manchester United's individual player development training looked a lot like boxing, right? With the lights and the speed touches and that kind of thing. I'm forgetting the trainer's name. His name is Michael. I'm forgetting his name. But you could see it in terms of how they're developing players and engramming them. And certainly, part of this process, it happens in different, but the most systematic way of engramming players has been adopted by the Croatian Federation. You know, it's a tiny country that consistently performs well by orders of magnitude above its weight, right? And so, you know, this can be achieved by other game mechanisms, right? Some that have been explored by X, some that have been presented by Bielsa, certainly futsal, right? Does produce some of the requirements of a comprehensive indexed model of the game, right? But you need something even more holistic futsal, right? Something a little more formal than say futsal. But futsal is a great start, right? Blueprint starts, right? In terms of engrams and combination engrams and processes to map out the game and change decision. And so that's what we're look to be doing in future podcasts, as well as on the At the TACBot video channel, and trying to show how different skills map onto each other in terms of like how the functions map onto those skills and how the skills map onto the bigger picture. So hopefully you like this, right? Like, subscribe, and comment, and we'll be back for more tomorrow. Thanks so much, everybody.